On a typical March morning in 2012, 15-year-old Sierra Lamar got ready for school, not knowing that her life was about to change forever. Sierra was known for her bright smile and vibrant energy. A cheerleader, dancer, and movie lover, Sierra brought laughter wherever she went. Her parents had divorced, and she had recently moved to Morgan Hill with her mother. March 16, 2012. Sierra took a selfie, posted it online, and left for school. After a warm goodbye to her mom, Sierra headed out on her short walk to the bus stop. But she never made it. When she didn't respond to texts and failed to return home, her mom grew worried. The alarm rang when an automated school message revealed Sierra never made it to class. A massive search began. The entire community and professional search parties were mobilized. Her phone was found near an intersection, her pink Juicy Couture bag with clothes and school documents found later. Nothing had been stolen, her items were untouched, but Sierra was gone. On March 28th, DNA on Sierra's clothing pointed to 21-year-old Antolin Garcia Torres. Previously linked to attempted kidnappings, Antolin became the prime suspect. 3 women had reported attempts to kidnap them from the very parking lot Antolin worked at. Though they didn't initially identify him, one dropped stun gun bore his fingerprints. Police put him under 24-hour surveillance. His red Jetta was spotted near Sierra's route. Her hair was found in his trunk. The pattern was clear. On May 21, 2012, Antolin Garcia Torres was arrested. The trial began in 2017, 5 years after Sierra vanished. The prosecution faced a daunting task: to prove murder without a body, without a weapon, and without a confession. Their case was built on a thread of DNA found on Sierra's discarded clothing and a mountain of circumstantial evidence linking Antolin Garcia Torres to her disappearance. The defense painted a different picture. They argued Sierra was an unhappy teenager who, burdened by her parents' divorce, had simply run away to start a new life. But Sierra's friends and family vehemently rejected this. Our Sierra would never just disappear, they insisted. The jury was left to decide. Was this a case of a runaway teen, or a brutal abduction and murder by a predator hiding in plain sight? On May 9, 2017, after weeks of testimony, the jury delivered its verdict. Guilty on all counts, kidnapping and first-degree murder, Antolin Garcia Torres was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Justice was served, but for the Lamar family, one crucial piece was still missing. Sierra's body has never been found. 10 years later, Sierra's family still hopes for closure. They remember her smile, her laugh, her boundless energy. And the world remembers the girl who never made it to school that morning. And now to the next episode. Sabora Gagan was born on September 14, 1991, in Tana, Albania. When her parents separated, her mother Elisabetta moved the family to Rome, Italy, in search of a better future. Known affectionately as Sabi, Sabora's joy was infectious. Tall, graceful, and radiant, she won hearts and beauty contests alike. Her dreams stretched from modeling runways to classrooms, where she hoped to teach. At 18, Sabora fell in love with Marco, a charming older man with a troubled past. Behind his smile lurked instability, violence, and secrets. Marco convinced Sabora to move to Spain, promising new beginnings in Torremolinos. But what awaited her wasn't freedom. It was isolation and fear. The relationship unraveled fast. Marco's jealousy turned violent. On a visit, Elisabetta saw firsthand the cracks that were widening every day. In June 2014, Sabora told her mother she had finally left Marco. It felt like a new start, but that freedom would be short-lived. Just weeks later, Marco claimed Sabora had vanished. First, she left without anything, then with 2 suitcases. But Sabora had gone silent, something her family knew she would never do. While Marco stayed silent, Elisabetta raised the alarm. Sabora's face appeared on missing person posters across Europe, but no answers came. 9 years passed. Marco moved on, new girlfriends, new jobs, but trouble followed. Complaints of abuse, drug raids and rage simmering beneath the surface. In 2023, his new partner, Paula, prepared for a night out. The next morning, neighbors heard screams. Seconds later, silence. And then, Marco vanished. When the door was opened, they found Paula, lifeless. And Marco, hours later, casually sipping a beer like nothing had happened. Then came the unthinkable. In a moment of eerie calm, Marco looked at a poster of Sabora and confessed. He had killed her and buried her in their old apartment. Authorities searched the apartment. At first, nothing. Then behind a wall, a hollow. Lime, a crate, flowers. And the remains of Sabora, hidden for nearly a decade. Elisabetta's worst fears had come true. After 9 years of agony, her daughter was finally found, but not alive. Friends gathered to say goodbye to the girl who once dreamed of teaching and laughter. In court, Marco handed over a 17-page letter. In it, a web of excuses. Drugs, mafia debts, self-defense, but no remorse, just deflection. Now justice waits. Marco faces trial for both Paula's and Sabora's deaths. For 2 women whose only crime was loving the wrong man. Sabora Gagan was more than a victim. She was a daughter, a dreamer, a light. And now, her story, buried in silence, will never be silenced again. And now to the next episode. On the morning of August 25, 2017, as Hurricane Harvey churned towards the Texas coast, Crystal McDowell was starting her day. She sent a quick text to her ex-husband Stephen about their children. Then, leaving her boyfriend's house, she climbed into her black Mercedes and drove into the gathering storm. But Crystal never made it to her destination. Hours later, when she failed to pick up her kids, her Uncle Jeff grew worried. He called the police, sounding the alarm. But as Harvey made landfall, the search for Crystal McDowell ground to a halt. A woman had vanished, just as one of the largest storms in U.S. history began to tear the region apart. Born October 26, 1979, in Baytown, Texas, Crystal McDowell's early life was marked by tragedy. Orphaned at just 11 years old, she navigated a childhood that would have broken many. But Crystal radiated a light that refused to be extinguished. She became a flight attendant, her wings carrying a message of hope and resilience. In April 2007, she married Stephen McDowell, a man friends described as a gentle giant. At first, their life was an adventure. But adventure soured as jealousy crept in. Stephen's gentleness gave way to control. As Crystal's career in real estate flourished, she became the family's main provider, and the primary target of his escalating rage and control. To protect herself and her children, she filed for divorce in February 2017. A desperate 911 call from a family member, Marie, detailed his threats. The divorce was finalized in June, but the storm in their lives was far from over. Crystal was finally free, but her fight for peace had put her directly in harm's way. As the floodwaters of Hurricane Harvey began to recede, the search for Crystal McDowell resumed. On August 29th, 4 days after she vanished, her Mercedes was found abandoned in a motel parking lot. The car itself offered few clues, but the motel's surveillance camera captured a hooded figure riding a bicycle from the lot just after the car was left. A cross-reference with local stores led investigators to a nearby Walmart, where security cameras caught a man paying cash for that exact bicycle. While the footage was grainy, the man's build was unmistakably familiar. The focus of the investigation turned squarely on Stephen McDowell. Crystal's family, armed with phone records and knowledge of his past threats, pleaded with police to act, fearing for the safety of Crystal's children. Yet, in a chilling turn of events, the children remained in Stephen's custody, leaving family and friends terrified of what he might do next. On September 9th, 2 weeks after Crystal vanished, Stephen McDowell was brought in for questioning. The evidence against him was mounting, and the pressure was immense. Faced with the evidence, Stephen's composure finally shattered. He confessed. He admitted he had strangled Crystal in a fit of rage during an argument at his home. He then led authorities to a remote patch of woods in Chambers County, where he had dumped her body, hoping the hurricane would wash away the evidence. Her remains were recovered. The search for Crystal McDowell was over. The trial of Stephen McDowell began in June 2019. The prosecution presented a mountain of damning evidence. But the most heart-wrenching testimony came from Crystal's own children, who recounted the violence and control that had filled their home. On June 27, 2019, after hearing the overwhelming evidence and emotional testimonies, the jury found Stephen McDowell guilty of murder. He was sentenced to 50 years to life in prison. Today, Crystal's legacy lives on in her children. Now safe, loved, and protected, they are healing from the storm that took their mother. Her story is a testament to a family's unbreakable spirit and a community's fight for justice. Did he receive justice? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching True Crime Thrillers. Subscribe now and explore all our episodes.